squads coming up right now.
Last time we saw XSET come here, they played up against Parabellum and actually ended up losing it as they went back to a map that Parabellum had played the prior day. They kind of checked them on it and was seeing if they could get one over on them, but obviously that was not the case. Now XSET donning border once again here to see if they can take it up against their hotly contested, co-NAL team, I guess here, that they've been rivaling this entire year. It's been quite an interesting one in between these two squads, between Stage 1 and Stage 2. Stage 3's been kind of a weird moment for both of them. XSET kind of falling off the rocker, a lot less than Astralis. They're still in contention, but for AST, it's been a hard-fought Stage 3.
Definitely the case. We'll see if they can make improvements on this one, though. XSET, like I was mentioning there during our prediction segment, have been a little bit all over the place. Things have been looking, to be fair, again, though, much more consistent over the past 2 weeks or so now for this squad. So in theory, XSET should be able to come in and close this one down, proceeding among the likes of course, Mirage, who they took down last week, and I believe TSM also in the last 2 weeks or so. But at the same time here, we have seen them falter earlier on in the stage, and Astralis with players like Forest leading the charge can certainly break a weaker structure we might tend to get out of XSET from time to time. Let's get into it, though, as it's going to be Astralis on the attack, XSET on the defense, and we're going to be starting out in the usual expected site through the upstairs hold from XSET on the second floor to begin things here. Interesting operator lineup as well. A lot of freedom going over to each individual player. We're only going to have one utility mitigation operator coming in the form of Yaga, of course, adding the laser gates. Aside from that, it's a whole spread of different forms of utility, traps, as well as distractions, really anything you could throw out here. And then Spirits, of course, going to be taking on a lot of that pressure when the actual site execute begins with the smart glasses on the Warden.
10 seconds left.
You can see how XSET kind of wants to set up the majority of this top floor, as well as with these laser gates, assisting, trying to get Astralis to path in certain directions, or just have to clear out some of these windows with their utility, give a piece over there that they're not going to be able to use a little bit later on. Now, the thing for Astralis is that they do have an abundance of this. They obviously have the stun grenades as well as some EMPs. They're actually doubled up on frag grenades as well. It's going to be bringing 4 of those. But for both of these lineups, you can really see the same tale, which is the fact that they really want to be able to set things up and take these fights around their utility, especially with Forest here on that OSA. We're probably going to see her over towards like maybe the east stairwell, or trying to play out on these balconies where she won't be as susceptible to nitro cells.
Relatively quiet start to the round, however, really for both squads. Astralis, of course, just rattling whatever noise they can make to open up barricades as well as these outside walls. You can see West Main, of course, a few players taking up position by there. XSET Spirits has gone out a little bit more adventurously, though. He's going to be holding that balcony position just over by Break Room, and we'll try to see if he can catch anyone trying to push their way into East Main. Not necessarily looking like we got a whole lot of that pressure coming in from Astralis just as of yet. Yaga did step outside for a second, I believe, revealing himself for just a split second, but that's to be expected to have a player in this position, given the site that we are attacking specifically. Forest getting a little bit of a nasty surprise there as Gomez accidentally rotates directly next to him. Obviously, Forest won't be able to react to that, but he'll get a quick correction after he puts the shield away. Ended up taking Gomez down outright, so a great start to the round, and nicely blocked as well. Gets the shield back out. Little bait and switch, but Kino wins it as he finds a 2-piece for himself instead. Spirits now finding a third for XSET as they've turned this situation around very quickly and taking control, bringing it down to a 4v2.
Extremely disrespectful from Forest there, but Kino brings it back across the line.
Iconic.
Spirits with the move, but Iconic shuts him down. Astralis will stay in this round.
Case down at the moment, though, so Astralis are going to have to take a step back, wait out at least the current Toxic Babe from Kino. Kino's smart and has realized that there is going to be a case pass there. He can try to throw out the other two and just waste time here, force a bit of a longer rotate from Astralis as well, but more than likely not going to be able to catch that. Down to the final minute. Even past that as well, Astralis have bigger concerns to worry about than getting the case back. They are still down a player here, and they don't have the greatest amount of map control either. I would argue that intel is also probably not going to be at the greatest extent. You can see them kind of very slowly peeking into office and whatnot, like they're not fully aware of what could potentially be waiting there for them. That could be building upon what I was just mentioning, and indeed, it seems to be the case. Kino's position behind the fountain goes completely unnoticed, and Yaga also succeeds in picking up the last defensive kill.
Very nicely done from XSET here, but Kino especially, his utter dominance around the office space and staying active over towards Fountain, not shying away from Astralis trying to regain map control, or trying to recapture that light that they had with their initial explosive take. But the big thing there was XSET's ability to adapt around what Astralis' take was, especially again for Kino with those 2 big kills that he got over on the office side. That shuts down a lot of Astralis' take. They have to recoil and see where they can potentially try and slot in next, and that makes it to where they kind of have to rebuff themselves and look for other avenues, which again XSET did a fantastic job of exploiting later on.
So XSET well and in charge here after they spin things around from Forrest's attempt to follow his way to the inside of Office. Does not work out despite Iconic and a few of the other members' best attempts to turn it around. So those two will be the only two to strike, on round number 1, and XSET will feast among the rest of that with Kino picking up 3 kills. Now time to see how they transition into the next hold here as they will be going to the first floor vent hold for themselves. Very similar operator lineup, but a few changes need to be necessitated. Kino taking over the alibi where Gomez was using it previously because Gomez now wants to bring the Azami into the fold. Very rare, of course, that Azami is actually allowed in play, but Border is going to be one of those maps where she has actually been able to sneak through quite a bit. And Gomez, of course, will be very happy about that as he can set himself up quite confidently now with those barricades.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you really have to respect things like Valkyrie and Mira here. You know, as much as Azami is quite the nuisance and she lets you set up things around the map that you wouldn't exactly be able to play around prior, those other two are almost more annoying, I would say, especially with the info game from Valkyrie, as well as just how the Miras can break up this map and make it really difficult to pressure certain points that you're really trying to get control of as an offender. So some solid bans across the board, but as you said, that's going to leave Azami out and about. Another pretty interesting thing about that last round before we get too deep here, Force is actually leading the league in entries. That's going to be another one. Another feather in his cap. It'll be plus 13 now for him, but with how Astralis' stage has been going, it's actually going to quickly go back on its own heels, and they'll lose that, but fortunately enough, they'll be able to get the pick in the second round as well as Iconic will be able to pick that up, and now they have the entirety of security to themselves.
That's done, nicely cleared as well. Spirits will not be able to respond to that in kind, so he goes down. The Warden utility that could have been useful in the late round going to be lost. Kino as well chucking out one of his clones to the outside. Going to put that very annoying notification on the screen in front of Astralis' faces here until they wrap back around towards front door to deal with that. To be fair, it's not in a tough-to-find position, but Kino is still going to be able to excel amongst the chaos. Catches DP fire, trying to clear out break room. Second round in a row now that XSET have been able to drop the case carrier with no one supporting him either, so that's going to have to be a fallback from someone else on Astralis to go get that. Looks like it'll more than likely be Forrest with the way things are currently swinging.
Well, Forrest will tag a few people up through the walls there. Obviously, a lot of these reinforcements were used up top as XSET's trying to hold full map control away from Astralis, but things starting to go awry in a certain sense. They'll be able to get control of the cameras, and XSET still combative on the bottom floor. Gomez looking to take it one step further as he'll explode into Passport, but nobody home as we know. He's just got some solid positioning here for the time being. Astralis wants to try and get utter dominance over the verticality game, and it's working beautifully for them. Forrest will be able to take down DS due to that. The Sledge creating some side angles as well, making a lot of these different areas very difficult to play. It's forcing XSET to spring to action, and fortunately enough, they have a Yaga, but it's traded out. It's down into the 1v1. We have to do it the old Western style, ladies and gentlemen. It's a duel, and Shuttle will take him down. It's 1-1.
Astralis bring us back onto even turf here by recovering nicely inside of the second round. Are able to trade their way down throughout the map. Starts a slow process, of course. A few bumps along the way, but they are able to get the job done as it's brought down to the 1v1, and Shuttle excels, clutching it up for Astralis to bring them back into the fold here.
Love what Astralis was doing with this top floor take here. Didn't feel as though they needed to try and influence too much on the bottom floor. We don't even see an entry from them downstairs, minus Forrest that I do believe snuck into Passport and kind of scampered off over bottom square. We saw him pre-firing a little bit into the walls of sight and taking up Yaga there with that duel kind of in the mid round. But past that, Astralis' entire focus was on that top floor and isolating the XSET player that was over around break, and they did that so so beautifully, John. They find him very, very quickly, and that's able to translate into the entirety of that top floor going into their control. And when you have some amazing cutoffs downstairs, like that hatch coming in, you know, from Bookshelf, as well as, you know, some of the sledge angles coming in from Armory, it's super difficult for XSET to try and do too much by playing off of site, so they have to try and get into the mix of things and see if they can get some big kills. But obviously Astralis was ready for that. They knew what they were doing on that top floor, and just all in all, a great strategy to take them down for the very first round.
All right, so Astralis back in control to some extent here on the attacking side. Now going to need to try and take away a second round. XSET will similarly not ball in for a second attempt over on their event hole. They're just going to go over to Tellers instead, so the defense will shift a little bit. Do similar operator choice. We are going to see a much more drastic departure from normality here. The Oryx coming out from Kino to keep him mobile between the hatch play that's going to be activated on these sites. Well, Mai will take over for utility mitigation here, and instead of the smoke that we've been seeing pretty consistently, Brought Yaga's going to go towards the mute instead of trying to deny the intel clear that Astralis was able to go for quite confidently towards the mid portions of the last round. A few changes for Astralis as well, most really iconic, of course, going on to the Ash. We'll see what he could potentially unleash, since he's got the G3 currently running on the Ash as well.
Couple of change-ups here for XSET. Same similar story, though, overall, obviously. We're still going to be going for some top-floor defense, and this honestly opens up a very large gap here that Forest is currently exploiting to its absolute fullest, rather. And Forest will be able to pick up Kino. No one thinking that anybody's just going to walk in, but Forest is obviously very capable of this. Gomez will take him down, and now, yes, the case is down inside of sight, but XSET still has to do so much here. You can see Astralis battling back, as they know XSET has to try and make their way towards site, but the trade game's worked out for both teams. It's a 2 versus 2. Astralis has some control here. J90 is going to be forced to hop inside of the teller's window. He really needs control of this case, but XSET know this. You can see them playing the counter angles here. Spirit's backed off inside of Passport. Nice little hole here. No real chance for Astralis to get any information on this either. Oh, it's going to be a pre-fire, and J90 takes him down. It somehow worked its way through for Astralis. DS now has to clutch up. It's going to be a fake plant here. He knows where that case is. DS with so much time, but how will he play this? He has access to the staircase as well, but they want to try and take the fight. He takes one. Was it ill-advised? J90! Oh my goodness gracious. It's on a knife's edge. DS, he still has full health, John. How has he accomplished this? J90 will get back into sight. He's going to start the plan up once again. He's almost done here. He's going to get it planted, but the shot from DS! Oh my! It's round 3, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the game we're getting.
That's a rough one for Astralis at the end of the day, too, given the absolute opportunity to work their way into the site. Free plant, basically, given over to Forest as well, but not nearly enough overwatch from his teammates to be able to get that initial plant down to the ground. He got scared off, that peeked into the wrong direction, gets dropped, and from that point forward, it's a very chaotic process of the Astralis roster trying to get back their control, and they just can never seem to go for it, even inside of the 2v1, going for the duel instead of taking the guaranteed plant they had. Very, very questionable one from Astralis as they lose that out, and XSET is obviously going to take that every single time, especially given the way that the duel was proceeded towards them for the 1v2. They didn't even try to take it together, just a 1-2 peak here, giving them the individual fights he needed to shut down in the clutch.
My, oh my, that was a time for Astralis to be able to redeem themselves from how this stage has been going, especially with the decision-making there. J90 and Shuttle decide that they want to take the fight to DS. It's a 2 versus 1. You still had the advantage. Not a bad idea, especially with the amount of time left. I mean, if you really want to go for it that way, you can. But it just goes so completely wrong. They give him so much space inside of Square. Playing around the bottom of that east stairwell is extremely easy given all of the pillars around, the concrete half wall that exists there. There's just so many different ways that he can avoid the lanes that you're going to try and influence him through, or like DS did, because he's a smart guy, you can pressure him, and you can kill one of the people in an ISO'd one-on-one, and then you're really going to make J90 think about what his next decision is, because, oh crap, we're not losing this round because we decided to try and take a 2 versus 1. You know, it's definitely a weird one we're going to go back and definitely talk about, and definitely tell you the analysts are probably up to their neck right now in data on that one. They're like, what the hell was that? But past that, though, Astralis still with quite a few opportunities here, And, I mean, you gotta just tip the cap to Diaz as well on that round. That was his first 2 kills of the whole game, by the way. He clutches it out up against one of the best teams that we have in the NAL for the entirety of 2022.
Nicely played by Diaz here, and certainly putting XSET on the right foot forward, being able to wrap all the way upstairs again here as well, so XSET will have strong confidence to be able to control things on this site hold also. Astralis did try to work their way in. We saw some moderate success from Forrest trying to push his way in on the office flank specifically, but aside from that, was shut down quite quickly by the rest of the XSET roster, so I doubt they're going to be too fearful about how they proceed on this round. And once again, we'll explain why Yogg is being so aggressive here as well. They know they've got the advantage right now. They really want to try to push this envelope as far as they possibly can before it potentially comes back to bite. Yes, we've seen the response rounds come in from Astralis, but at the moment, control for them inside of the round itself has been few and far between. For the most part, XSET has been dictating the way this game needs to proceed. And Astralis needs to find a way to change that up, whether it's avoiding the direct duels because of the general weakness of their overall roster outside of a few star players or something else. Might need to change the procedure here to try and find out a bit of a more consistent closeout to some of these rounds.
Love that move there by Spirits. Uses the kunai to block off the angle and push himself forward. Almost gets caught off guard by his own alibi clone there, his teammate, but obviously no shot sent down range, so won't be too big of a call sign for Astralis to know that his positioning is now inside of break, but I mean, it is just about high time for them to get moving here. We have to get the ball rolling. They've at least gotten some semblance of control over Office. They're abusing radio window here. They've got the OSA shield moving up the balcony side. They're looking for a plant inside of Archives. Now, this is quite preventable by XSET depending on how they go about this. The other thing is there is some impacts on Spirit, so depending on his positioning, he might be able to get rid of this OSA shield outright. But it's going to be a double setup and a plant here for Forrest. This is an old school siege, so obviously no one's going to be down low with a nitro cell just sitting here waiting to blow anybody up. He's going to be able to impact the first shield, but it doesn't really matter. Shuttle's got it shut down on the cross from the AC unit. DP Fire sneaking his way into Office as well. It's going to be hard fought for XSET.
This is the type of execute Astralis have wanted for the past 2 to 3 rounds here now. Beautifully played by them. Much better Overwatch overall on the inside of the site. And as you can see, XSET are struggling just to maintain positioning, let alone player count here. Gomez will be brought back from the grave. And after that trade from Diaz, we're into a 2v3 overall. Not impossible to be one out here, but now going to be very tough as Gomez is finished off. Diaz pushed into a corner, nowhere to run as well. So it's Astralis with a absolutely shuddering round coming out here against the players on the other side, be able to take control yet again here and tie us up at 2-2.
Very well done from Astralis, taking their time once they got control of the eastern stairs and seeing how they wanted to go about things, making sure that XSET didn't really have a counter for their play over on the Archive side. I especially love the preparation of just having the OSA play around the balcony space there and just hold the door. You know, I think that for Astralis, it was a very solid play because they didn't overplay their hand. We didn't see anybody try and jump ahead, you know, jump the gun, try and take a fight with XSET inside the 90 hallway or something like that. It was just very clean siege, so quite the respectable round 4 there from Astralis.
So with Astralis back on the right foot, we'll see how they try to close things out. 2 more rounds to go, of course, inside of this half. XSET, once again, not favored replays on any of the sites they've gone on to previously. They're going to head downstairs once again into vents. They did lose this one on the last attempt as well, so Astralis going to be feeling that confidence to an extra extent now because they're already riding high off of their previous win, and now they have to go back to a site where they've already been able to control things in the past. They're going to shut this one down for a second time, and we'll see a very similar operator lineup from XSET overall, so not going to expect any huge change up in their style of play. Roam game, of course, might vary a little bit here, and that could cause some problems, but overall, XSET is going to be looking once again to wrangle control over Astralis early on with those extended positions away from the actual site.
We've already had a wild story through 4 rounds here, John. Astralis has gotten all of the opening picks, but we still sit at a dead heat. 2-2 as XSET has been able to rally back, especially for Diaz's sake, with his clutch on the Teller's site. XSET now trying to set pace here. Yaga with an early peek out of Archives window. Nobody home on the bus side, though. He's looking to see if anybody wants to try and climb up that bus ladder. Always something you have to be aware of when you are working that north side of border.
Away from that, things are going to be pretty quiet across the map. No one from XSET trying to line up a play this early on. That may change over the next few seconds, of course. We do have the players inside of security definitely trying to activate themselves in Forest. The timing almost doesn't work out for him here as he heads up top. Got a panic phone call, but that only opens up another window of opportunity for Kino to swing. Spirits did get down while all of this was going on, of course, but looks like he's in a somewhat safe position. Never mind. Iconic will be able to finish him off once he gets access to CCTV. So that will be 1-to-1 traded on opposite sides of the map to bring us down to a 4v4 now.
Well, Kino with the first blood for XSET here of the defensive side. He'll take down Forrest, who, oddly enough, was just accessing his logic bombs out in front of God and everybody, and gets re-peeked as soon as the logic bomb goes off. So, great timing by Kino there. And speaking of timing, he'll get it done again. A dastardly move from him. Iconic's going to try and chase, and he'll win it out. He'll keep his friend alive, but he feels as though there needs to be more done here. Fortunately enough, they have J90 on Finka, so this will be easily done for Astralis. They can res him from across the map. They don't need somebody to run over and pick him up naturally. It'll be the Adrenal Surge instead. And now XSET, worse because of it. It's going to be a 2 versus 4 with the AST trying to play this off of site, but at least as of right now, the case is down, but I do believe it is still in the Astralis possession.
Yeah, I was just hoping for the wrong rotate at the moment, and he might very well be gifted with it. At the same time, though, you can see that player from Astralis up on top, definitely priming utility, waiting for an opportunity to potentially catch the player down below if they are aware of it. Yaga attempting to pull off pretty much the same exact thing over by the customs hatch as well. 45 seconds remain. Astralis need to finally make a move sooner rather than later here. But where do they want to strike? Where do they want to try to move things forward? Inside of the actual site, it's pretty much open for the taking. XSET only holding the extremities, looking to pinch this once the Astralis members have taken up possession on the inside of the site. And there we go. Diaz able to finally catch one here from his top-down position. Finds J90. It had been a long wait to line up that kill, but he does indeed get it. Ready, however, for the drop-down from Iconic as he scores a 4th kill on the round. An ace very well possible here as he's got the challenge now versus Yaga, but he denies it. Yaga takes him down instead. The plant will go down in the meanwhile on the inside of ventilation. How does Yaga attempt to clutch out what started as a 1v3 and will very much become that if he can complete the set. 2 kills to go. Tries to go for the wraparound, but a smart read from the players on Astralis. They have the cutoff instead. Yaga may be somewhat aware of DP Fire's position to his left as he tries to crawl through this divide. He's got the pre-fire, but not the correct position for it, so Astralis still end up coming out on top, now with the lead as well as we head into the final round.
We got another plant down here for Astralis, and as you said, they're going to take the lead yet again here. Although Pino was able to get the pick and actually had a very nice set over there on the east stairs. Just very unfortunate that XSET wasn't really able to translate it into all that much. Once Astralis was able to get a foothold on site, it was overwhelming for XSET. Not able to really get done too much done past that. Obviously, we did have some nice plays there from Diaz over inside of the bathroom, but wasn't anything to really be able to bring them back into the race. So now Astralis will pull ahead here. We'll see what they can get done for their very last offensive round. This offensive side has been quite the interesting one, especially because it seems like a lot of the times Astralis is getting pretty punished on these entries. I mean, we've had Force with quite a few of those, and Astralis overall leading 4-1 on the entry game as of right now. But the scoreline still pretty close, and that's due to a myriad of different reasons. The main one being that a lot of the times that we're seeing these big pickups from Astralis, XSET is able to get it back pretty quickly in a lot of different ways. So we'll see if that happens on this last round here, what XSET's last strategy is going to be, unless we get forced to overtime later on. So we'll have to see what they want to try and do with this. They are going to be rocking the Oryx here, so could have some fun stuff going on the roam game. And Spirits is going to be back into break room for this one.
It is interesting as well, as I've noticed quite often, Astralis are only able to kind of make their gains after the fact, after XSET's made a play against them, whether it's pushing directly into one of their players, catching them off guard, and then they bring one of the superstars out, like Forrest or like Iconic, to trade that out. We've been seeing that happen a lot as well, but they've been getting better and better control over that, to be fair, compared to some of the other games we've seen out of them this season. So trying to kind of hone things in as we get towards the tail end of the year of play as far as the region is concerned. Spirits, though, will deny the early advances from Astralis on this round as he shuts him down amongst the Kiva barricade setup he has here in break room, knocking out Shuttle and removing the sledge from play on a top-down round as well. Certainly would have liked to use that sledge since we don't have any breaching charges on any of the other players. Will be tough now to open up those top-down angles, and they will more than likely have to try and play that out horizontally, which is not going to be the easiest thing in the world.
Timing. Yes, indeed. Well, interesting stuff here. Spirits also actually having one of the highest KPRs in all of North America, the highest in this lobby as of right now at a .91. Speaking of getting kills, it's back onto Forrest as well. He's been lighting up the scoreboard when it comes to those entries, but obviously this time around things not working out for Shuttle. Astralis are going to be down a man as we reach the halfway moment here. Astralis going to be pushing through. Iconic's at least going to get a leadoff pick and equalize things here, but Yaga's got a nice cross. He's going to step up to the plate. This stun will still get him a forward move, and oh my, a stun dump. Yaga's going to get eaten alive, and that's going to force XSET off of the top floor.
Absolutely not the fault of Yaga at all there, pretty much. He couldn't see a thing as he had about 3 to 4 different flashes dumped on top of him with nowhere safe to run from either. No coverage had been set up. He was already pushed into a corner, so very well executed there from Astralis. Just left him unable to respond to the situation outright unless he took a random shotgun shot. Astralis going to be up now 4-3, down to the final minute of play as well. Still a few tricky problems that have been set up by XSET that'll need to be dealt with here, so time may become a primary concern for Astralis as they start to work their way towards the teller's area itself. As you can see, plenty of members of XSET sprinkled amongst this actual site, looking to try and catch the players on Astralis off guard, but so far that has failed. Gomez going to go down outright. Forrest now with the safety to go for a plant, but Kino is nearby, has the angle through the wall, but again, Overwatch has been set up much better for Astralis the later portion of this half here. Jane, I know, will execute the last player coming out from XSET, lock in a 4th round for the squad.
Astralis' scoreboard starting to look alive, especially for J90. -16 on the season, and not something that we're used to seeing for him on a stage-to-stage basis, but it's starting to come back here. Looking quite solid. I do believe he's at 8 kills right now just on that offensive side. So switching things over to defense could be quite interesting, especially for him. J90 is going to be slotted into the Kaid on this one, so probably won't be too much of a roaming-esque character here. Might be played a little bit back towards site, but also could be played up top for something like, half wall, just trying to keep those armory walls sealed or something along those lines. We'll have to see what Astralis' strategy is for this. Past that, you can see 3 quite interesting things happening here for Astralis with the Mozzie. The Capcan as well as the Pulse rolling their way in. We've been seeing quite a bit of Pulse play here on Border as of late, and honestly just throughout the history of Border in general. Always a very solid pick, especially when you're playing some of these downstairs sites. A good preventative measure to try and deal with the offense once they take control of that top floor. They're working their way in to try and pressure some of your top floor defenders. So we'll see if Astralis can get away with this as they'll attempt to slow things down through that Mute Mozzie combo as well as that Capcan and keep everybody up to date as to what's going on in the moment with that cardiac sensor.
A few repicks that end up coming in from XSET, of course. Now we're going to see how they're able to bleed out into this round. So we've got the IQ being brought in, most notably there for Spirits as well, to try to figure out what's going on the defensive side, and most notably, if he can detect, I think he just found it as well. Yup, there is the pulse. Nicely done, but good coverage coming in from Astralis as DP Fire has his teammates back, or I guess front side in this case, be able to trade out the death of Iconic and still keep things even at a 4v4.
That's extremely worth, especially because Iconic has been going nucleosis this entire game. He's 10-5 at the current moment, so trading that out for the IQ especially, just, utility to utility, that heavily is weighted in the favor of Astralis.
That was like 80% of the reason to have the IQ in the first place. Exactly. Was to find him, so job accomplished as far as Spirits is concerned.
Yeah, that's why as soon as Spirits more than likely saw the jump prompt on the window, he's like, I'm going in. we're flying here. We're coming through. So XSET will at least get the lead-off pick to start off their offensive half. And yes, Astralis do retaliate, but now they have to try and deal with the rest of this XSET onslaught down a very key member of their squad.
At the same time, the IQ could have been useful when you look at the remaining utility on the board, the PES as well as the EDDs and the electrical, but generally speaking at this level of play, XSET should be able to detect and figure out how to deal with those without too much of a problem, considering that their IQ is dead, of course. So once again, the bigger problem was finding out that pulse, and they're able to succeed in that. Well, yes, of course, our utility would be convenient. It's not required by any extent here to clear out the rest of this round. XSET definitely clearing things out, though, as they get over here towards the fountain areas. You can see they've opened up most of the floorboard in that area to try and hunt down any of the resistance coming in from Astralis down below. Want to see if they can get lucky finding the kills from that perspective before making the dive themselves. However, as you can see from the silhouettes, not a whole lot in that neighborhood from Astralis. They positioned mainly over customs instead, with just a single member of the team currently positioned in the actual site. This will be a bit of a tense hold for that player specifically, but if the plan is properly set up, Astralis should be able to crunch this on the execute.
Well, Astralis have locked up Workshop side. That'll give the mini hatch readily available for XSET. I'll be able to open that up and start trying to transition into some verticality play here. Astralis trying to battle back with some Nitro cells, but Yaga, he's aware. He's backing off of these angles as soon as he opens them, not pushing himself forward too far and risking too much. Very well done from him. Diaz, oh, he's been able to find the shoulder of Forest. Now XSET pull ahead, and they're starting to plant as well. DP Fire's been caught out by Gomez, and the entirety of Astralis lays dead on the ground. Shuttle to join them quickly. He just had one foot in the grave. XSET will quickly boot him down the hill, and it'll be an XSET round.
XSET, in my opinion, is way too well prepared for the execute there, as we saw the players on Astralis kind of giving up their second floor hold after that one-to-one trade, not really trying to flirt too much with the battles up there after that initial duel went down. Past that, again, did want to set up for a crunch play coming in from Customs, but it never really looked like they got to that point where they were able to do that. XSET was very well aware that that was the setup and spent that extra minute or so that they had after trading things out up top, just finding all the intel they needed to make sure that when they were ready to move down, they did so in one swift move that pretty much took those players down outright. Nicely played there from XSET, and a good way to bounce back quickly here, as now they're only one round behind.
Yeah, I loved all the decision-making across the board there from XSET, especially with what we saw early on from Spirits, taking out the Pulse, Astralis, attempt to retaliate, right? I mean, pass, obviously, the pick that they got there for that even trade, at least on man count. But XSET had the majority of the control that they really needed or saw fit in order to take that past that moment, because they knew that Astralis wasn't going to know exactly what they were doing any longer. So it was practically already mission accomplished there. They just had to follow through with it, in which they did quite swimmingly once they got control of that top floor and were able to really put a lockdown on Astralis' defensive site setup. So Astralis is going to be going for a very similar thing, but this time across the map. It's going to be Tellers this time around. We're going to have the Pulse back in play, but it won't be on Iconic. Instead, it's going to be on Shuttle. Iconic actually donning the Oryx instead, but we're going to be keeping some other fun stuff around with the Cat Can. So is Thunderbird working our way in. We got the Castle Barricades to slap up as well to try and prevent XSET from getting to key points of the map too quickly, but they do have a decent amount of soft breach, so I don't know how long that'll hold up.
Got a little bit of a different operator, of course, for those who haven't noticed it as well. On the Astralis side of things, the Kona stations have come out for DP Fires. He's picked up the Thunderbird for this one. So it's not an operator we tend to see all that often, unless you're one of the few people that play like competitive console Siege, then you see it a lot. But away from that, of course, it's going to be very convenient for the more extended members of the Astralis roster right now, having that little home base to proceed back to get a little bit of a health boost that can make or break any individual 1v1 you get yourself into. Iconic, of course, going to be the most beneficial to that at the moment, as he does have the one sitting right into the hallway rotate from his current room in CCTV. So if things get a little bit hot, he can get a nice little health fill-up on the way out, shoot that thing before he proceeds back to the actual site as well.
A gorgeous strategy to be able to try and stand tall in some of these key parts of the map, and this happens to be one of them. Security. Iconic, with this Oryx, does have the opportunity to try and skimper off into Bookshelf and get down the hatch here. He's probably the only character in the entire game that can try and make a cross against a professional player like that, unless you just want to kill him instead. Iconic takes down one, and it's actually going to be Astralis to come out on the top of the heap. Yaga's going to take some heat as well. Forrest will take down Gomez out on the balcony, but Yaga's got the refrag. But obviously, quick maths, Astralis still ahead here in the man count. Diaz is trying to fight back, though. He's worked his way in on this top floor, but unbeknownst to him, both Astralis members are going to drop off the top through the hatch. This has worked out swimmingly for them thus far. Nitro Cell out by Shuttle, but it's going to land on deaf ears.
Nitro, unfortunately, a little bit premature there. Not going to be able to catch DS out. XSET as well, still down a player here, so would have liked to try and grapple that opportunity to catch that player that ran away, but not going to end up being possible. J9 now has the overwatch for the drop down. Not going to take the direct contestation on the angle, though. A little bit scared of a hop down from up on top, and that would potentially directly counter him out, and he's right to assume so. So playing a little bit more passively against the actual hatch angle. XSET, though, not really enough with much of a choice. They're going to drop down towards it anyway. J9 would have heard that, I'm pretty sure, so he's going to be aware. Doesn't have the full confidence going for the swing, but still sinks the shot. Nicely done to take down Diaz, leaving only Yaga in the fight now for a 1v3. Shuttle, J9 and DP Fire still alive, still pretty much full HP. Not the best hopes coming in for Yaga here, especially considering that he needs to wrap around. Gets a free vision peek, though, here again. Shuttle is able to figure out at least where he's playing from, but he's got that bulletproof sitting in front of him, giving full intel over. It's just a really tough battle to win here for Yaga at the end of the day. He'll go for it, got rid of the bulletproof at least, but all that is set up now is the line of fire for DP Fire to take him down. Astralis keep their lead strong now at 5-3.
Astralis' top floor defense works out. They get all the picks that they need on that security side, led off by Iconic. XSET taking some very serious damage inside of that opening engagement, and it makes it so difficult to try and work out a situation like a 2v3, especially when you're trying to drop down a hatch, John. That makes it so very difficult. Not a lot of angles in that area to be able to support that either, unless, I mean, you really want to try and go for like bottom square, but then like you're just taking fights with the other team anyways, just given off of your positioning. So really difficult situation for XSET really any way you look at it, and that's going to proc a tactical timeout. To be expected as well. These offenses not as clean as we'd expect out of XSET, especially after we saw them just decimate that top floor the prior round.
Yeah, so very much a needed attack balls coming in at this point here. It's going to get a little bit dodgy from this point forward. They drop one more round, and of course, we're at that penultimate one coming in for the players on Astralis. Taking it here now, at least gives them an opportunity to try and rebound with a quick 2-round spree to tie us back up and still keep them in the game, so to speak here. That pause, of course, is already expired. We're heading back in game now to see if Astralis can keep their own streak running, as of course, they also get the opportunity to get some input from their coach on that pause. So they may have a few new things to bring out here for their upstairs hold as they try to lock this one in alongside what will very potentially be a 6th round if they can get it.
Well, one of the biggest games from Iconic that we've seen this entire stage, currently 11-6-2, and they haven't even made it to the penultimate point just yet. They're knocking on the door of that right now. It could be round 10. As for XSET, it's pretty even across the board, but Kino standing pretty tall here today. Usually I do believe right in the middle of the pack. Yes, indeed. Smack dab in the middle, in fact. 1.03, 43 and 45. -2 for his KD spread, but based off of just the position he has to play for XSET, he's doing such a bang-up job. We usually see him on this ace at AK-12. Just an absolute treat to use, especially as a kind of a flex support player. It's just such a good gun, man. So whenever you get to actually play ace in a circumstance like this, you definitely have to make the most of it. You can see Kino doing that right now with the way he's lighting up this scoreboard.
Astralis well in charge of the situation. Next, it's going to have to be careful with every step they take to make sure they don't make the same mistakes as we've seen them fall into on the previous few rounds here. Much more composed opening coming in from an XSET as a result of that. Very heavy emphasis on the drone work here, specifically near the specifically over here near the office area of the map. Just to try and figure out what's going on with this extended setup that Astralis is deployed into quite heavily. At least 2 of their own players committed to this fight. And in a second, we're going to have to see them actually jump into the fight itself. Kino, proceeding forward. A whole line has been opened up as well. He's going to use one of the Selmas just to bring it a bit wider. Does manage to sneak off a shot on the shuttle as well. It creeps out just a little bit too far. Shuttle maybe going to be thinking twice about proceeding forward with this as Kino takes out another member of his team entirely here. That's DP Fire going down, I believe, closer towards CCTV as Iconic tries to make up for it.
Yeah, you definitely have to start worrying about things when Kino gets hot. He can take control of a game if he so chooses, but you could say the same about this man right here, King Iconic. Shifty inside of security, waiting for some assistance on his hatch, and Forrest will be able to suffice. Knock that open. Now has a safer position to be able to stand around security and be even more of a nuisance towards XSET. And speaking of which, they're starting to work things out on the balcony side here, seeing if they can try and play this in on the security window, see if they can hold things down on box. The Sledge will work his way in, get rid of the castle barricade. It's still laser gated though. Iconic will take down a Gomez, just tries to trot in the building, and Astralis have found their equalizer.
XSET getting strung up there. The one part of the map they didn't properly drone things out for. And it's so unfortunate that that's the part of the map that Astralis tries to get aggressive on the inside of XSET. Caught their pants down on that play. Now lose the player advantage, but still has the potential initiation advantage coming over here towards West Main. No way to open up those walls shown just as of yet. Kino certainly has the capability, as well as Spirits, though. There shouldn't be too much of a delay stopping them from trying to open things, but as we're going to see a lot of distraction being drawn over towards Archives instead of the potential play coming out towards the site wall itself. We're going to have some players to back that up. Spirits with the first strike, but at the same time, we're going to see Kino end up going down. No easy revive available for him as he needs to crawl over towards the corner. They will be able to find it eventually, and Spirits will continue to frag into this one, now taking out Shuttle and bringing it down to a 4v2.
XSET firing on all cylinders now, and Astralis has to do something about it, but it's down to the 2 top frags of Astralis.
Iconic.
These absolute animals. Iconic. Key positioning here. He'll get 1, he'll get 2. Oh my God, Iconic! You stare them down!
The look!
Disgusting! disgustingness
Even he couldn't keep a
inside
straight
of
face.
Mini Office. It might have been inside a Mini Office, John, but it was a massive damn play. He'll shut down 3 men with 1 magazine.
Nicely done by Astralis. Very well deserved for Iconic as well. An amazing game so far and an amazing clutch right there inside of the 1v3 put before him, shutting it all down. Nice kill finally taking down Spirits as well. His teammate able to support on that one. Astralis, very well deserved 6th round up on the board, and now just 1 more to go to lock in the game.
I mean, if you're Bodega, what do you even say to him at that point? It's like, oh, I mean, you guys did play for trades, so I guess win your gunfight. I don't know what really to say. That was an amazing, exemplary showcase of mechanical ability there from Iconic. His decision making as well to pressure the angle after he gets those initial kills, not waiting for them to try and take the fight to him. That's really the deciding factor right there.
Very, very well played here, and it might be met with a very well-deserved win for Astralis. Still sitting back in 8th place right now. We'll have to see what type of gains they can make overall on the standings if they end up with a full regulation win here, but at the same time, it'll also force XSET to stay out of the top 4 at the moment here. They were so close to potentially pushing themselves into major contention. It's looking more and more likely that won't happen here today. In fact, it's already going to be more difficult by the fact that Astralis has found that 6th round. At best, XSET are now going to be getting 2 points for this matchup, and that's assuming they're able to come all the way back with the next 3 rounds consecutively going to them and still rebounding in overtime.
The last 2 play days, I've came into work a little tired, right? But these first games have just been like a shot of pure adrenaline every single time. I'm so used to things being like a little patient, you know, a little cut and dry every once in a while whenever we come in. But these last couple of play days, man, they have got me feeling absolutely electric. I am wide awake right now, even though, you know, it is 2:27 in the afternoon on the West Coast. But give me a break. We fly a lot, okay? I mean, come on.
It's really like 5 p.m. for you. Or I guess 4 p.m.
Can you give me the benefit of the doubt here, man? I mean, come on. We're going to have some Candelas in and a plant going down for Kino automatically. XSET want to get this done very quickly. Astralis, though, are dealing with it. And is this going to be the last round of the game? XSET down to Yaga and Diaz. And Diaz is down to 1 Candela. Yaga, all of his air jabs already gone. AK-12 in hand, or rather just AK in general. Not the 12. It's got a lot more bullets than that. And, well, not nearly enough firepower to shut down a squad like Astralis. It's a flawless round for them, and a practically flawless border. 7-3 in their favor.
What else is there to say for Astralis and the fact that it just got better and better the deeper we got into this game? Beautifully played by the Astralis roster to bring things back after a little bit of a rocky start, especially when it came to their entry game. Forest, of course, once again being the shining highlight for that for the first half. Iconic kind of stealing the thunder, of course, as we got towards the later portion of the half, but as we move deeper and deeper